Good morning, everyone. Today we are on the first session of the second day. It's Saturday, 13th, and today we will start our session with Basics of Hatha Yoga by Sushant Singh, followed by Rachel, who is going to teach Anatomy of a Breath, and third session will be Pranayama by Bharat Singh, sir. All three sessions are aligned in such a way that you will get a complete asana and pranayama knowledge. So, without wasting time, I would like you all to introduce yourself. I would like Sushant to introduce himself and start the session. Sushant, please. Please take your time.
I will need to share my screen. Could you please allow me to share the screen?
Give me a moment. Please try again.
I hope you can see the screen now. Is the screen visible? Can anyone let me know?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste to all. A very good morning from India. I first of all would like to thank the organizer of BreathLYFE workshop, the Yoga Festival, organized by Bharati Vidyapeeth University. And I thank Dr. Gaurav Pant for giving me the opportunity to share about Hatha Yoga, a classical yoga. I can recollect some 5 or 6 years back when I was back in Rishikesh and sharing yoga with students from almost 30 different countries. They shared, oh, we practice Hatha on Monday, we practice Yin on Tuesday, we practice Iyengar on Wednesday, we practice Bikram on Thursday. So their understanding about Hatha Yoga was a practice that you do for 1 hour on a mat. I realized there are a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding when it comes to Hatha Yoga. And this is not only amongst the foreigners, but what I realized is it is even more in Indian population. As the very word Hatha in few of the Indian languages means to be adamant. So few understand Hatha Yoga as a practice to be done with lot of force, which is not the reality. So I really thank for giving me this opportunity to share my views, my understanding on Hatha Yoga as I have received from a Guru Shishya Parampara. Guru Shishya Parampara means a lineage that started by a realized master, and the teachings was passed on from generation to generation. And I was fortunate, I am very fortunate to have received from my gurus. We begin today's session with a prayer. If you know the prayer, you can chant it along with me. Sit in silence with back straight, being aware of your breath. Prayer is an opportunity to connect with the universe within us. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May there be peace, peace, peace in the universe. So this is going to be a combined theory as well as practical session. We need to have some basic idea as to what Hatha Yoga is, how it originated. So going back to the history, the lineage. Thank you, Dr. Gauri. Good morning. To the lineage of Hatha Yoga. How did it all started? When we talk about yoga and the founder or the originator of yoga, there's always a debate. The Indians would like to believe that yoga has existed more than 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, millions of thousands of years. It is eternal in nature. Whereas when it comes to the Western scholars, they believe in the fact. So initially, I even came across some scholar who was saying that yoga is nothing but developed out of the physical training exercise from Europe. I was like, seriously? We have some evidence that yoga existed even prior to that. And especially the asana practices we find in a text written in the 15th century called Hatha Yoga Pradipika by Swatmara. Did it exist even prior to that? Yes. So you might have heard about Maharishi Patanjali, not the brand Patanjali, but Maharishi Patanjali was a rishi who lived around 2nd century BC, who codified the Yoga Sutras. Just in 195 or 196 sutras, he has compiled the very essence of what yoga is. And it even existed prior to Patanjali. We find in some of the remains of the Indus Valley civilization some seals depicting yogasana. We also find yoga in the Vedic culture. In the Upanishads, the term yoga is there. So it has existed definitely from more than 5,000 years, as Indus Valley civilization is dated 3000 BC. So definitely yoga is a science which has survived for more than 5,000 years. So it is an amazing science, time tested, and still many are benefiting, and I'm sure that even time to come, yoga will exist and will benefit the whole society. Now coming to Hatha Yoga, which is one part of yoga, which is in fact a more practical part of yoga. As controlling the mind becomes difficult, Hatha Yoga masters have designed some simple practices by which we can, working on our physical body, working on our breathing, we can work on our mind. So this system originated with Adinath, who's believed to be Lord Shiva, was carried out to the next generation by Matsyendranath, Gorakshanath, so on and so forth. So this went on in a lineage, a traditions starting right from Adinath. I received it with the grace of my gurus, starting on the top left, Paramhans Madhodasji Maharaj, who passed it on to Swami Kuvalyanandji, the founding director of Kaivalya Dham Yoga Institute, the first person to do scientific research in yoga and publish a first yoga paper, scientific paper, in 1924. Astonishing to know that. His disciple, Swami Digambarji, and their living disciples, Swami Maheshanandji and Shri Bharat Singh Ji, with whose grace I have known Hatha Yoga. What is Hatha Yoga? The word Hatha can be broken down. Ha represents the sun energy and Tha represents the moon energy. Sun, moon, Pingla, Ida, right, left, Yamuna, Ganga, male, female, hot, cold, pranic, manasic. The list can go on, sympathetic, parasympathetic. These are two equal and opposite forces within us. The right side of our body, the left side of our body. So Hatha Yoga is a science to balance the two equal and opposite energy in us. When we are involved in any sports activity, we tend to use one side of our body more. For example, if you're playing tennis and you're right-handed, you'll be only using the right hand, hardly using the left side of the body. This, over a period of time, may create an imbalance in the muscles, may create an imbalance in the pranic body, and may create an imbalance in the mind. Whereas Hatha Yoga, we try to balance right from the outer body, the physical body. We make sure we utilize both sides of our body equally, both nostril equally, both the brain, the right and the left hemisphere equally. We try to balance them. And sometimes we have to stimulate. So we have practices like Surya Namaskar, which accelerates our system. The sympathetic tone, it improves. And we also have to balance by calming it down. To tone the parasympathetic, we have practices like Shavasana, Yoga Nidra. We had an excellent Yoga Nidra session last evening. So this will take away a few misconceptions about Hatha Yoga. Now what Swatma Ramji has to say about Hatha Yoga. Swatmaram is the author of the classical Hatha Yoga text called Hatha Yoga Pradipika. He has rightly mentioned that Hatha Yoga is only and only for the sake of Raja Yoga. Now, what is Raja Yoga? That is the state of Samadhi. Even in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the 8 limbs, the 8th one is Samadhi. In the first commentary of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Vyasa Bhashya, he defines yoga as Samadhi. So Swatmaram clearly says Hatha Yoga should be practiced only and only for the sake of Samadhi. Now, what is Samadhi? In state of Samadhi, we are in our true self. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. We are connected with our true self. uh, it may be a difficult thing to understand, and a lot of confusions are there as to what samadhi is. And this is not only in the 21st century, but even when Swatmaram wrote the Hatha Yoga Pradipika in 14th century, he clearly says, Bhrantya Bahumata Dhvante Rajayogam Ajanatham. Because of many views as to what samadhi is, people get confused. So one easy path to take in yoga is the path of Hatha Yoga. As when you start connecting with yourself, you naturally get connected with your true self. That is the whole teaching of Hatha Yoga Pradipika. An author keeps on mentioning that it is only and only with the practice you can realize samadhi, not by reading, not by logical understanding. As Patanjali ji also says, that's uh, Ritambara Pragya, the knowledge that you attain in samadhi, it is different from Shrutanumana Pragya, different from any other knowledge that you can perceive through your senses. It is going beyond the senses. Now, who should practice Hatha Yoga? Asheshata pataptanam samashraya mathohata, Ashesha Yoga Yuktanam Adhara Kamathohata. Ashesha Tapa. Tapa means endless suffering. Ashesha, endless suffering. If you're experiencing any kind of pain, suffering, be it physically, back pain is there, or be it mentally, I'm feeling depressed, I feel hopeless, there's nothing in the life for me, then Hatha Yoga can be a matha, a monastery to protect you, to take care of you. The practice of Hatha Yoga can help overcome endless suffering. I'm currently pursuing a PhD in yoga therapy from, and it's a medical university. So if a patient comes, he goes to doctor. If nothing works out, none of the medicine works out, they send him to the psychiatrist. Even with psychiatric treatment, nothing works out, they finally send to yoga, because they know finally it is yoga who's able to treat these people with endless suffering. The last option is yoga. Now you will say, I don't have any suffering, why should I practice Hatha Yoga? So Ashesha Yoga Yuktanam Adhara Kamato Hatha. Even if you're doing some other forms of yoga like Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga will be a support, like a tortoise. There's a famous story in the Hindu mythology of the tortoise supporting the Meru Parvata during the Samudra Manthana, the ocean churning. You can read up about it on the Google. So similarly, Hatha Yoga supports or gives supports to you if you're practicing any other form of yoga. Before we get into practice, it is very essential to understand the anatomy and physiology of Hatha Yoga. Yes, it has its own anatomy and physiology. There is something called prana, which the modern science doesn't talk about. Prana is the life force or vital energy. If you observe a living body and a dead body, all the organs are present. All this are there. But what is it that is lacking in a dead body, which is there in a living body? That life force, that vital energy is called prana. The prana is present throughout our body in all the cells. The 5 pranas, prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyana. And how this prana circulates in our body is through the nadis. Nadis are the energy channels through which prana flows. I repeat, nadis are the energy channels through which the prana flows. And it is believed, as per Hatha Yoga Pradipika, there are 72,000 nadis. As per Shiva Samhita, there are 350,000 nadis. Means a huge number. We have a great network of nadis within us. And wherever these nadis meet, we have a great energy centers called chakras. The two major nadis are the Ida and the Pingala, and they meet at the third eye center called the Ajna Chakra, a great energy center. Chakras are like transformers. So while doing the pranayama practice or while doing the hatha yoga practice, we are working on our pranic body. It is possible that one of these nadis or many of these nadis are blocked. The asana practice, the kriya practices help to open up these nadis so that the energy, the life force start flowing towards that part of the body. And this by itself naturally heals our body. There's a 5th chapter on Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is only exclusively published by Kaivalya Dhamma, which focuses on yoga therapy, yoga chikitsa. And the yogic way of treating any disorder is taking the mind, taking the prana to that part of the body. I would like to share something I recently experienced. Back in April, I started giving yoga therapy sessions online, and I came across a female who was married from 7 years and was finding it difficult to conceive. The doctors had said it is difficult. They are trying all kinds of treatment started for her. For past 2 years, she was taking treatment. And finally, when she started the yoga practice, the only practice I used to make her do or make her focus on was bringing the prana to the uterus region. And just 6 months later, she conceived naturally. They were trying for IVF and they were not even able to succeed with IVF. But she succeeded naturally. So it was like a miracle. So that much is the potential of prana. If you're doing some practice, you're just lifting your hand, just lifting your leg, but not focusing on that part of the body, not feeling that part of the body, the prana will not flow. Then you're doing dead hatha yoga. It is not living hatha yoga. The correct way of doing hatha yoga is focusing the mind to that part of the body, feeling that part of the body. Then the prana flows into that part. Some prerequisites for doing the hatha yoga practice. One is a proper place. Second, a proper diet. Our diet makes the environment of our cell. So Hatha Pradipika, especially the very important point here is the food should be eaten as an offering to please the God within, not in a state of anger, not with agitation. In a relaxed state, with the devotion, we should consume our food. In the West nowadays, they call it the mindful eating. It's a beautiful practice. If you do mindful eating, you will never overeat. You'll never overeat. You will never put on excess fat. So he says, leaving 1/4 of the stomach free. If your capacity is to eat 4 roti, just eat 3. Never in the yoga tradition, they gave emphasis on complete fasting. Neither overeating, neither fasting, neither starving is considered healthy. You should eat 3/4 of your body's limit. Some of the Hatha Yoga practices are the Shat Karma, the asanas, the pranayama, mudra. Shat Karma are the cleansing practices. They help to clear the nadis, and importantly, they help to overcome the kleshas. The impurities in us are called klesha, as per Patanjali. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, the fear. So when you do a practice like Vamana Dhoti, where you have to drink water and throw out, so naturally you have the fear, you want to get over it, you're very over responsive. But when we do it as a Hatha Yoga practice, we try to do it keeping our mind calm, controlling that natural reflex, and just observing the water, how it is coming out from the system when you're doing the Vamana Dhoti. So it is training for the mind. Many people wrongly understand Kriya as cleaning the organs. No, it is mainly to clean, to clear out the kleshas, the impurities from the mind. Second, asana. These are the most popular Hatha Yoga practices, postures in which you maintain, and this changes the way energy flows in your body. This changes the blockage of the nadis. This regulates the prana flow into the various nadis. Asanas prepare for higher yogic practices like pranayama, meditation, so on and so forth. It brings in stability, stairyam, arogyam, very good therapeutic benefits are there from asana practice, and brings in lightness of the body, angalagama. Pranayama is working with the prana. Of course, the prana is very much related to the breath. So through the breath, we are working on the prana. It is pranayama. Mudras and bandhas are higher yogic practices. We are also going to do some experiments to understand what mudras and what bandhas are. Okay, I'll come back to this slide. So now we'll do some practices of Hatha Yoga. You need a mat for doing the practices. Even if you don't have a mat, you can still practice. More than that, you need willingness to practice. Swatmaramji says, all you need to succeed in yoga is utsaha, the enthusiasm to practice, sahas, the courage to practice, dhairya, the patience, even if you're not able to touch your head today, that's okay. Do it respecting your own body's limit. You don't have to break. Tattva jnana, with correct understanding, with correct instruction, under the correct guidance of a teacher, Guru Padishta Marga, you should practice or learn Hatha Yoga. Nishchaya, with determination, what you learn today, you will continue to practice for the next 1 month, 1 year, 1 lifetime. And Janasangha Parityaga. So while you're doing the yoga practice, make sure your door is locked. You won't have people to come and disturb you. Your phone is kept in silence mode. Then you will be able to go inward and get the proper benefit. So we will get started. Find your yoga mat. Be seated comfortably. Weight balanced on both hips evenly. We just learned about Hatha Yoga, how to keep the right and the left equally balanced. Palms kept upward, either Jnana Mudra or any mudra of your own choice. Keep the spine erect, effortlessly, with minimum effort. And focus on your breathing. Feel, is my weight evenly distributed on both legs? Feel the prana in both legs. You can slightly adjust. Now observe your abdomen. Keep your abdomen loose. You will naturally observe the abdomen moving out with inhalation, moving in with exhalation. If this is not happening naturally, make effort. With inhalation, abdomen should move out and in with exhalation. Now straighten your back further with inhalation. Make sure the head is in the center. Feel the weight of your head evenly distributed. Maintaining this, we will recite one Om. Inhale. Om. Now lift your both arms up from the sides. You may look at the screen. Hands in Namaskar with Om recitation. Bring your hands in front of the heart. Om. Inhale, lift your arms up from the sides. Om. Inhale, lift your arms up from the sides. Now place your both palms on your knees. Place left hand on your abdomen, right hand on the chest. Observe the breathing. Do you feel expansion happening in your abdomen, in your chest? Find out when is it happening. Is it during inhalation or exhalation? Now we will control this. Inhale, expand your chest. Maintain the chest expanded. Now breathe only from the abdomen. With inhalation, abdomen moves out. With exhalation, abdomen should go in. Inhale, abdomen out. Exhale, abdomen in. Inhale, out. Exhale, in. Inhale, out. Exhale, in. Exhale in one go. We do this for 10 times. Now release your palms, place your palms on the knees. Exhaling by contracting the lower abdomen muscles. In yoga tradition, we call it Kapalabhati. We'll do 20 strokes of Kapalabhati. If you're having any kind of pain in your abdomen, if you're having fever or menstruation, hernia, better don't do Kapalabhati. There are some modifications. If you're interested, I can teach you personally, but don't do this Kapalabhati. You can simply do slow deep breath. All others will practice Kapalabhati. If the blood pressure is very high, more than 150 systolic, avoid Kapalabhati today. Palms on your knees, inhale, start. Observe your natural breath after Kapalabhati. If you've done it correctly, your breathing will become calmer. As per the Hatha Yoga science, if your breathing is fast, disturbed, then the lifespan will be short. But if your breathing is calm, deep and long, the lifespan will be more. Often the example is given of a dog which takes 100 breaths in a minute, lives around 12 years or 15 years max. Whereas a tortoise which takes only one breath in a minute lives almost 200 years. So try to keep your breathing slow, soft. If due to some impurities the breathing is disturbed, by doing Kapalabhati, the breathing immediately comes down. The mind comes down. Now straighten your both legs. You may take support with your hands behind. Stretch out your toes forward. Pull the toes towards you. Feel the prana flowing into the toes and extend more forward. Extend more forward. Good. Now toes towards you. Extend the heel forward. Toes towards you. Flex your ankle. Toes furthermore towards you. Activate your thighs. Furthermore towards you. Let the prana flow to your legs. Okay. Release. Now bending your both knees, bring your feet together for Baddha Konasana. This is also known as Bhadrasana or Titliyasana, resembling a butterfly. Feet together. Now make sure when you're sitting here, you're not sinking in your lower body. Try to elongate Create space in the lower body. Chest lifted, both left and the right side equally distributed. Now, maintaining this, we will loosen our hip joint. Bring your attention to the hip joint. With exhalation, can you further relax it? The knees will go further down. With inhalation, elongate your back. With exhalation, relax your hip, allow the knees to go further down. Keeping your attention on the hip joint, keeping the hip joint loose, let us move from there. Slowly, slowly, no need to hurry. Try to feel the movement of the bone at the hip socket as you're moving your knees up and down. Stop. Now sit in any comfortable sitting posture. Once again, lift your both arms up from the sides. Bring your hands together in Namaskar and maintain here. Face relaxed, shoulders relaxed. Feel your lungs. Feel the prana flowing into the lungs and open up your lungs even more. Now lift your palms further up and release from the sides. Take standing position. We are doing some simple practices to connect with our body. The next practice is Tadasana, keeping feet hip width apart, feeling the weight of the body equally distributed on both feet, head in line with the spine. Lift your both arms up from the sides, interlock your fingers, stretch up, palm facing upward. Stretch up. Focus on your breathing. Do not lose the contact from your breath. Observe how the breath is going in and coming out now. If you're feeling any kind of discomfort in your breathing, that means you're unnecessarily pulling some muscles. So relax your shoulders a little bit more. Find out, is your breathing calmer now? You should try to maintain maximum stretch, maintaining the ease of breathing. Now lift the heels off the floor, balance on your toes. Maintain there for 10 seconds. Slowly bring your heels down to the floor. Feel the weight equally distributed on both legs. Now release your fingers, release your hands from the sides. Feet together. Weight balanced on both feet evenly. So all these practices are very good to relieve the tension from the spine, to release the stiffness from the back. The next practice is Ardha Kati Chakrasana, which will further release the stiffness and open up the lungs. We'll do it as a Hatha Yoga practice, weight balanced on both feet. Feel your both hands, no tension there. Be aware of your breath. Check, is my weight evenly distributed on both legs? Maintaining that awareness, slowly lift the right hand from the right side, slowly with complete awareness. Can I feel my right arm? Can I feel the blood, the prana that is circulating in my right hand? Maintaining that awareness, continue lifting the right arm, come up to shoulder level. Is my weight still evenly balanced? Maintaining that weight evenly balanced, turn your palm upward, lift it further up. Now feel, how is my palm? Do you feel the palm is the same or has something changed now? The pranic flow, the blood flow. Now after bringing the arm closer to the head, lift your right arm up, stretch up. Being aware of your breath, bend towards the left side. Maintaining the ease in breathing. So go as per your lungs capacity, as per your body's limitation. There is no ideal posture. The posture varies from person to person. Check, is the weight balanced? Am I breathing continuously? How is my hand? Is it feeling heavier now or is it feeling lighter now? With that awareness, come back to center. Feel, has anything changed in your right arm? Keeping that awareness, slowly bring it down to shoulder level. Maintain at shoulder level. Turn the palm down and slowly, slowly come down. Feeling the pranic flow, the blood flow towards the fingers. Now observe, do I feel the same on my left side as I feel on my right side? Is it the same? No. You may experience the right arm has become slightly longer compared to the left one. So you have created an imbalance in your body just by holding a posture for 30 seconds. We correct this, we balance this by doing it on the left side, then it becomes Hatha Yoga. Lift your left arm slowly up to the shoulder level. Weight balanced on both feet, keeping awareness on your breathing. Don't control your breath, let it be natural. Do not hold. Now from shoulder level, turn your palm upward and continue lifting the left arm up. Try to feel each and every part of the left hand. The fingers, the wrist, the elbows, the forearm, the upper arm, left shoulder. As you bring the arm closer to the head, slightly stretch up and bend towards the right side. Natural breathing. Weight will remain balanced on both feet. As much as you can comfortably go. Now find out whether you're breathing evenly from both lungs, or are you experiencing naturally that you're breathing more from the left? Slowly come back to the center, feeling the left arm come back to shoulder level. Turn the left palm down and slowly, slowly come down. Now you may feel that both hands are equally balanced. Maintaining this balance, lie down on your back in Shavasana. Shavasana is one of the difficult asana to learn. So listen very carefully the instructions. Feet comfortably relaxed, hands comfortably relaxed, no tension in any part of the body. Keep your body loose. If you feel there is any discomfort, you can slightly adjust your legs, your hands, and relax them. This is the first stage when we relax our physical body. Then we move to the second stage. Now focus on your breathing. Observe the movement of the abdomen. And with every exhalation, let go. Surrender your body to Mother Earth. Shava literally means a dead body. When I, the soul, leave this body, what happens then? I leave behind all my worries, all my tension in this world. So Shavasana is tuning into a different dimension, letting go of all the worries, all the tensions, everything. Just for a minute, let go of all the thoughts. Even the good ones. Do not identify, let go of all your identities. Even let go of the idea that you're trying to do Shavasana. Let go. If you do this correctly, you can now feel the breathing has calmed down and you can experience a natural pause after every exhalation. Our body is in a deep resting position. Our mind is also blank. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not the senses. Immortal self am I. So hum, Soham Shivoham. Soham Shivoham. Soham Shivoham. Now slowly move your fingers and toes. Bend your both knees, turning on any one side. Take sitting position. Any comfortable sitting position with your back straight. Hands in Namaskar. We pray that may all beings be happy, be in peace. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Rub your palms, feel the prana in your palms. Feel the healing touch with your palms as you move it all over your body. Move it all over your body. Touch each and every part of your body with your palms. Bringing palms in front of your face. Slowly open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for practicing with me. 1 hour is very short to share all of Hatha Yoga, whatever essential points or misinformation are there about Hatha Yoga, I try to address them. So thanks to all of you. If there are any question and answers, maybe we can take 1 or 2.
Thank you, Sushant. Kindly ask if there is any question. Well, it was a wonderful session. Thank you, Sushant. Very well prepared and presented. Well, we are looking for the questions. We all know that session.
Thank you, Asim ji. Thank you, Himanshu ji.
Okay, perfect. So there's no question. It was an amazing session, Sushant. You have relatively told the history of Hatha Yoga, and then you have performed a small demonstration for our participants. Amazing. Thank you. And hope I'll be seeing you more.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'll always be there.
Pleasure. Thank you. You may join the participant list. Next in the row, we have Rachel. Ellery. Hello, Rachel. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Lovely to be here.
Thank you. I would like to introduce Rachel to all of you. Rachel is a yoga teacher. She's been taking um, body work and anatomy lectures from like 26 years. And without wasting your time, I believe Rachel should come on board and tell you whatever she wants to say. Rachel, the floor is all yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody that's watching here today. And Sushant, fantastic class, and what an opportunity to embody yourselves before I probably bring you into a slightly more heady conversation in regard to the anatomy of the breath. I've been an osteopath of 21 years and have been teaching anatomy to a variety of different students throughout my career, starting in New Zealand, educating the up and coming osteopaths of New Zealand. And about 8 years ago, I moved to Bali, and I've had the privilege to start teaching on yoga teacher trainings here. Last year, no, not last year, I'm missing a year. The year before was 30 yoga teacher trainings. And I saw this amazing presentation that's from the BreathLYFE, and I felt compelled to check in, and here I am. So I'd like to take you on a journey with the anatomy of the breath and start to bring some awareness about the muscles and our structure that are so key in relation to the functionality of our breath. We heard Sushant talk about the feelings of the ribs, of the breath, incorporating the arm movements, how the arm and the upper extremity can be so influential to our breath. And for me, there's a question of, well, why? So within this journey, we're going to start to bring you into more of awareness so you can go through the next few days with a real understanding and a visualization and an embodiment of appreciating where our primary muscle of respiration is within our body, where there are other muscles that assist the diaphragm, our number one muscle of respiration, and how important our shoulder girdle, upper extremity awareness, and how our shoulder girdle sits on our thoracic cage in regard to how that can influence our breath. So just to let you know, I've got a little bit of help here behind us. This guy's name is Charlie. In fact, I've got a few other Charlies that you might see throughout the presentation. And I'm also going to be sharing my screen with you because for me, I'm quite a visual learner. And for me, it's really important to get that sense of appreciation of where the diaphragm is, because in your next lesson with the pranayama that you're going to be going through, I want you to, sure, focus on your pranayama, but have a bit of an understanding of, wow, where the diaphragm is, how the diaphragm moves in our inspiration and expiration. Because if we have that sense of appreciation and idea of how that diaphragm moves, then we can start to apply it. Then we can start to embody it in a different way. And then we can really get that sense of the capacity and the potential for our breath. Because in life right now, there are many breathing dysfunctional patterns that I see in life, especially with the situation where we're at, with increase in maybe stresses, reduction in how we are moving our body maybe since this pandemic, and the reduction maybe in the movement of our body, the shift in our posture in our body can be so influential when it comes to breathing dysfunctional patterns. And we may not be aware that we're in a breathing dysfunctional pattern. And that may be from being stressed, it may be from having a pathological imbalance of asthma, pneumonia, bronchitis, even the conversation of COVID. Sleeping apnea with breathing problems through snoring. Clothes. Many of us may wear clothes that are too tight and restricting for our thoracic cavity and cage to be able to expand. So I'm going to start to share my screen with you guys, and I'd like for you to join me in a journey here of the anatomy of the respiration system and the anatomy of the breath. So just start to check in with your own body and be mindful that we have the nose and we have the mouth in regard to breathing. Our air, the air in the world, the prana, the oxygen, our life force, should enter up through the nostrils. We have hairs within our nostrils for the filtration. We have many veins in the vascular system within this region that also helps to warm the air. As the air comes up through the nostril cavities and warms and is quite a turbulent, interesting pathway, we then can appreciate that the air and the prana and the life force continue down through the back of the throat region into this amazing structure that is assisted and reinforced with a cartilage ring structure, so that tube doesn't collapse on the breath in, because there's such an exchange of pressure within our breath. So the oxygen continues down through this tube called the trachea, and then the air splits to the left and to the right side of the lungs into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller tubes until we come to the very end of those tubes, which is where we appreciate where air and the oxygen and the carbon dioxide exchanges between the respiratory system and the cardiovascular system. This is where the gaseous exchanges occur of the prana, the air that comes in, the oxygen that's coming into our body, and the apana, the carbon dioxide that wants to exit our body, the waste. So we get this exchange that happens right at the tips, right at the fingers of our lungs. Now, our lungs are beautifully protected and supported within the cage, the thoracic cage. Now, coming into a little bit of anatomy here, we appreciate that there are 12 thoracic vertebrae within our spine. Here you can see on Charlie, we have the neck, the cervical spine, there are 7. And then we have 12 thoracic vertebrae. 12 thoracic vertebrae, and there's a rib that is associated with each thoracic vertebrae. So 12 thoracic vertebrae, in total 24 ribs. Now, if we continue to look at the structure of the thoracic cage here, we can see, especially through the front, that there is a variety of different combinations of how the ribs come into the front body. And through the upper 6 ribs, we can see that there is a connection to the sternum. And you may want to just feel through the sternum, through the front of your chest, actually starting in between the collarbones, this little notch just at the base of the throat region. And you can feel the chest, the solid sternum, the breastbone. That's quite a solid structure. And as you continue down through the sternum, you'll come to, as you can see on the screen, this small little tip at the very end. You can see my arrow just circulating over the tip here of the end of the sternum. And this is a small little cartilaginous tip, and it's called the xiphoid process. Don't worry about too much about these names, but I want you just to remember that, because it's an important structure for our number one muscle of respiration, the diaphragm's attachment points. And the diaphragm attaches to the inside of the xiphoid. So we have the ribs 1 to 6 that come in and blend into the sternal bone at the front of the body. And then from the ribs 7, 8, 9, and 10, they come through this slightly whiter structure, which is cartilage. Why do we have cartilage within the front aspect of our thoracic cage? Here's a question for you. Do you think there's more flexibility in bone, or do you think there may be more flexibility within the cartilaginous structure that we can see either side here coming down through the thoracic cage? The importance here is within the cartilage. The cartilage gives our thoracic spine a sense of, our thoracic cage, a sense of compliance, a sense of give, a sense of movement, a sense of expansion and contraction. So the cartilage here is for the degree of movement and compliance that we have through our thoracic cage. So 1 to 6 comes into the sternum area. 7, 8, 9, and 10 come through this kind of interesting pattern of attaching via this cartilaginous matrix. And then we have these other 2 little floating ribs at the bottom, which are important for muscular attachments to help with the expansion of the lower cage. Okay, remember your 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because that is going to be very important in regard to our diaphragm attachments. Okay, why do we need to know about the structure here that I've explained? 12 thoracic vertebrae, 24 ribs. Do you think our ribs move in different ways? Do you think they have the capacity to move in different directions? That's a yes, okay? So let's start to appreciate the different movements of the rib cage. And this is where we need to start to appreciate, if you were to see a baby having just been born or within its first year of life, where do you see most of the movement when a baby breathes? We see a lot of abdominal movement when a baby breathes. And we see the expansion through our lower ribs. Now, on the right side of the screen, we can appreciate here, we're talking about the lower ribs. We're talking about the ribs that if you were to place your hands here onto your lower rib cage, where I'm putting my hands onto Charlie, if you place your own hands onto your rib cage, I've got a special dress on for you all today, and I'll get into that in a minute. But if you place your hands onto your lower ribs and apply a little bit of pressure, you can see that there's the compliance here within your ribs. Now, the movement that we see within the lower rib cage is a sense of expanding out and up. And we could describe this movement of out and up like a bucket handle. You can see the picture on the screen, and we can appreciate how a bucket handle moves around a bucket, okay? This is how these ribs move. The lower ribs move out and up, out and up. Very important for cueing, very important to educate students within the differentiation of our rib cage. Because if we are stressed, if we are in a breathing dysfunctional pattern, if we wear trousers that maybe are too tight for us, or a bra that may be too tight for us, where and how do you think our breath may accommodate? What we often can see is, as many of you maybe know, of upper rib breathing, okay? And which way do our upper ribs move? So just place your hands onto your upper chest, taking a deep breath in, start to appreciate where the movement feels in your hands. Taking a deep breath in, where do you feel the movement of your upper ribs? We can describe it like a pump handle. And we can see here that the upper ribs, and feel that the upper ribs and the sternum come forwards and upwards, forwards and upwards, expanding into the front body in comparison to the lower ribs, expanding into our lower, outwards and upwards. So when we want to get a really good expansion of our breath, start to really consider the expansion of the breath through our lower rib cage. This is where we're going to see the attachments of the diaphragm. This is where we're going to slowly start to see. I'm just going to go through quite quickly here because I have a picture of the diaphragm through the front and the back. And this is so very important to where our lungs are actually situated in our body. There is a lot more surface area of the anatomy of our lung through the back part of our body, which is the picture to the right side of the screen. Appreciate here how the diaphragm comes all the way down into those lower ribs, right down into the back area of our thoracic spine. Now I'm going to keep my hands here on Charlie. I'm just going to actually unshare my screen and come back to you guys and make this a little bit bigger again, because then we can start to appreciate the sense of expansion through and the difference between the upper and the lower rib cage. So through the back, this is where the back aspect of the lungs come. Okay, see how low that is. And at the front, the lungs is only going to come down as far as where the diaphragm attaches, which is around these lower rib regions, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So can you see the difference between where my upper hand is and where my back hand is? There's a lot more surface area of the lung in the back part of the body. A lot more surface area of the lung through the back area of the body. So when we look at teaching, when we look at cueing, when we educate people, we want to get a sense of expansion through the back of the lungs, the lower ribs, opposed to up through the front body, where we're not going to have that expansion and the capacity to fill up our lungs, which is what we want to do, right? We want to fill up our balloons to maximize our oxygen in and to maximize to get the carbon dioxide away from our body. If there are any questions, please allow those to come through the chat or the Q&A as we go, because sometimes this is really good for me in regard to dipping into little questions as we go and allow that flow to keep going, because your questions may lead me into some interesting conversation for you guys. Okay, so just to recap, 12 thoracic vertebrae, 24 ribs. We have the capacity for expansion in our lower rib cage of going out and up like a bucket handle, our lower ribs, and our upper ribs here move forwards and upwards like a pump handle. So think, when you're doing your Anulom Viloms, when you're doing your Kapalabhatis in the next hour, where is your breath? Where is the movement within your thoracic cage? And where can we maybe find a little bit more expansion to encourage your breath? Do you feel restrictions through your clothing? Do you find the capacity of your breath restricted in any ways, which is what we were hearing through the gentleman that was speaking before? And movement and yoga and preparation to twist, utilizing twists within our body, helps to wring out our thoracic cage, wring out our thoracic spine. It tends to stretch and lengthen these very small muscles that help to move the ribs. And these little muscles can become tight, can become compromised within breathing dysfunctional patterns, stresses, smoking, all of these things. And these little muscles here may just straddle between two areas, maybe three regions of the spine. And if we twist and if we prepare our bodies for breath work, then maybe we can find an increased capacity to shift that breath in and breath out. Okay, coming back to share my screen with you all, we are going to come back to dive in to appreciate the diaphragm. Okay, here we go. Let's move me out of the way here. Imagine the diaphragm, this number one muscle of respiration. It's incredibly thin. It's almost like a shower curtain that is between the thoracic cage and it's between, here we go, it's between the thoracic cage where the lungs are and the abdominal cavity. Where this line is, if you follow my cursor, this is where the diaphragm sits. So the diaphragm is the tissue, the structure that separates the thoracic and the abdominal cavity. So let's see what sits above it, what sits below it, and let's see that from my dress. Okay, so here we go. You can see here the diaphragm. I'm just going to place my hands where the diaphragm is and have a little look at what's above it, and then we can see what's below it. Okay, we've got the left and the right side of the lungs. We have the bronchioles. We have that tube that splits into two like a tree trunk, and then it splits into all of these finger-like projections into the capillaries, which is where we see the exchange of the gases. And then we have this big, beautiful structure that helps to propel and spiral and push the blood around the body, the heart. And then we can see here the diaphragm that's like an umbrella that separates the thoracic cavity and then the abdominal cavity. To the right side of the abdominal cavity, we have this big, big structure. Interesting that it's in red. We have this liver that sits here on the right side. coming over to the left side, we have the stomach. We have the stomach that sits under the left side of the thoracic cage. To the back, we have 2 kidneys, and they are sitting right at the back around the 12th rib area. So upper, above the diaphragm, lungs and the heart, below the diaphragm, liver on the right, stomach to the left, and tucked up behind there on the left, we're also going to see the spleen, and we're going to mention the pancreas as well. So think about how important it is when the diaphragm moves. When the diaphragm moves, it's important for the structures above it as well as the structures below it, okay? And that's going to be in conversation about digestion. It's going to be in relation to the conversation of expansion and getting the most air into those lungs as possible. Okay, so the diaphragm, let's keep talking about the diaphragm. It splits, or it doesn't split, it is the structure that lays in between the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity. Okay, here it is. Now, what I'd like to do is just to give you a little bit of an orientation of this picture, because it may be quite challenging for us to get, well, how's that diaphragm? Where is it and what's been removed? So if you can see through the smaller picture that we have on the screen, and if you can see my Charlie here, okay, here's the front of Charlie. We put his head on straight. Here we go. So if I'm just to rock Charlie back, can you start to see up his thoracic cage a little bit more inside? Imagine that the liver's been taken away, the stomach's been taken away, all of the intestines. And then you're going to see this umbrella-like structure that is up, separating or in between the thoracic and abdominal cavity. So within this umbrella-shaped muscle, this thin musculo-membranous structure, the outside of the umbrella, this free edge of the umbrella, has to be connected to our body, our anatomy, okay? And this is where we're going to come back to some of those structures that I mentioned to you already. One, the xiphoid process, the little dingly dangly cartilaginous tip that we can see here on the thoracic cage. Once again, tipping Charlie back. We then can see here, in relation to the picture on the screen, the cartilage structures of the ribs 7, 8, 9, and 10. Onto the tips of the floating ribs 11 and 12. So this is 3/4 of the attachments of the diaphragm already, okay? This circular attachment points, xiphoid, either side of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 on the ribs, all the way to the 12th rib here. Okay, just lying Charlie down. He's been a bit injured, so I'm just being gentle with him. Okay, now this picture is beautiful in that it really brings us to our awareness of 2 muscles that have fascial attachments to the diaphragm. And we have the muscle here to the left side, where my cursor is on the screen. This muscle here attaches to the 12th rib that we were speaking about earlier, and it continues down and attaches onto our pelvis. Now, this muscle is called the quadratus lumborum. It's very important in relation to the muscle attachments to the diaphragm, or the fascial attachments. And then its friend next door that's called the psoas muscle. There may be a few light bulbs just popping off here. Now, the psoas muscle, named as the muscle of the soul by a lady, Carolyn Knock, I think her name is. She has a very interesting book calling the muscle of the soul the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle is responsible for hip flexion. If we're standing and we bring our knee up towards our chest, this is hip flexion. Or if we're standing still and we come into a forward fold, this is also hip flexion. This is where the psoas muscle will shorten and is one of its functions. Why is that so important? Now, if we have an imbalance through our body, if we have an imbalance, say, for example, scoliosis, if we have a shocking sitting posture at work and we slouch, or we're quite challenged in how we sleep at night, maybe like a rock climber, where you have one arm up and one knee up, you may have a shortening through one side of the body. And can you appreciate that if we have shortening through one side of our body because of a postural compensatory pattern, how this may influence one side of the diaphragm, how it may influence one side of the rib cage and maybe reduce expansion, therefore reducing the functionality of the capacity of our rib cage to expand. So these two muscles, the psoas muscle and the quadratus lumborum, the psoas muscle sits into the very front aspect of the lumbar spine, comes down through the front of the pelvis and attaches into the femur, the longest bone of our leg, lower extremity. And the quadratus lumborum attaches here from the lower rib cage onto the top of the pelvis. So imbalances that were spoken about in the earlier class can influence the breath, which is why he was so beautiful in his teaching of coming back to that experiential. Can you feel a difference? Can you feel a difference with the breath if we move the arm? Because there's many muscles from the upper extremity that attach into the rib cage and have important influences on how the rib cage functions. So if we therefore look at shoulder movement, or a shoulder that maybe doesn't move as well because it's injured, do you think this will have an influence in how our ribs expand? Yes. If we have problems in our lower extremity, say for example, arthritis of the hip, a little bit later on in life maybe, may this influence our breath? Yes. So there's many influences through the other aspects of our body, lower extremity, upper extremity, abdominal concerns that can have a knock-on effect into how we breathe. Okay. Coming back into sharing the screen again, let's get a little bit more intimate here with the diaphragm. Okay. Good to see some pictures here. Okay, we're going to move down into this fantastic picture here that we can see this small musculo-membranous muscle that is in between, separates the thoracic and the abdominal cavities, arching over the stomach, liver, and the spleen. Okay. Let's also appreciate the diaphragm as part of our whole, okay? When we learn anatomy, we start to learn about our body in a reductionist way, in that we start to isolate structures and learn about, oh, the diaphragm, learn about the rib cage. But what I'd like to share with you here is a very interesting concept in regard to the continuum of the diaphragm that's sitting within our body, that's located in our body. And we can see here a front view, as if I was looking into your belly button, your umbilicus, your tummy button, or looking at your body through from the side. And from what we had just been speaking about, and we can see where the diaphragm's located within our spine, from the very front of the xiphoid that comes all the way up and attaches into the lower lumbar spine region. Look at the difference of the angle there of the xiphoid at the front, the lumbar spine at the back. Our body has this sense of continuation, a continuum of myofascial continuations within our body. And through the diaphragm, we can see a continuation of the muscle coming down through the front of our body, known as our six-pack or maybe our one-pack, who knows what we've got right now. We all have a six-pack under there, so don't worry about it. We have this six-pack, the rectus abdominis, coming down to the pubic bone, the bone that sits in between our legs at the front of our body and front of our pelvis here. This is the pubic bone. So we've gone from the attachment of this little xiphoid that I asked you to remember at the beginning of the lecture, from the diaphragm that arches up and over, to then slowly coming down through the front of the body to the pubic bone. And then what do you think continues? What is a muscular myofascial continuum from this abdominal muscle? Yeah, we're coming down into the mulla bandha, the pelvic diaphragm region. And these two diaphragms, of which there are more in the body, but I'm just going to explain to you right now about two diaphragms, are all connected. They work together. There is this continuum. And that continuum will continue through the pelvis, through the base of the pelvis, up through the front of the sacrum, through the front of the spine, up and over into the diaphragm again. So within our abdominal region, we have this balloon-shaped bag that's filled with our abdominal content. Above it, if you imagine to be inside your stomach or inside your abdominal content, and you were to look up, you'd see the diaphragm. If you were to look down, you'd see the pelvic diaphragm, the mulla bandha. If you were to look forwards, you'd see the back of the abdominal muscles. And if you were to look back, you'd see the front of the spine and the ligaments attaching into the spine. So we have this balloon-shaped continuum of myofascial structures, which I find quite beautiful and amazing. So how our diaphragms are working above and below are very influential over our pelvis function, are influential over our thoracic, lumbar spine, thoracic cage. So our breath is key. Our breath is key in so many aspects of getting enough oxygen in, enough carbon dioxide out, maintaining a balance, maintaining a really important balance in regard to our pH balance in our body, the acidity and the alkalinity. If we are not getting enough oxygen in and not getting enough carbon dioxide off our bodies, we can end up in an acidic environment. Our pH levels can shift and change. And we have some very intelligent receptors in our body that pick this up. They're called chemoreceptors. And we have chemoreceptors more in the center of our body, and we have peripheral chemoreceptors more to the outside of our body. And if they pick up on imbalances, then it's going to shift our breath. It may help us yawn, for example. It may get us to take a deep breath in because our body needs that shift within that capacity of balance. So that's the third function of breathing: optimal oxygen in, optimal carbon dioxide off, prana, apana, balance through the acidity and alkalinity, the pH balance of our body. Imagine if your body is functioning on more of an acidic level. How do you think that's going to be inside for our internal environment? It's going to be compromising, right? And we can also influence our bodies internally, obviously via our food and what we eat. So think about acidic foods, think about processed foods, think about foods that may produce more acidity and how that can influence our internals that then in turn can affect our breathing. So some very interesting terms in regard to that balance of our body. So really take that into consideration. We're getting into some nitty gritties of not just like breathing in and breathing out. What other functions are there within breathing? What else can we consider in relation to our nervous system? Because I bet there's quite a few there that know about that and that you will be talking about, okay, why is it important for us to focus and check in with our breath? It is important in regard to the balance, again, of our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. If we're stressed, who's experienced anxiety before? Who's experienced stress before? I'd imagine most of you have put your hands up. Where does your breathing shift to? How does your body feel? Do you feel a little bit more on alert? Do you feel that your breathing becomes more shallow and maybe even stop? I have numerous patients that say to me, I might be driving my car and I find myself not even breathing. And it's like, yeah, I can appreciate that. So what happens to our nervous system, this flight, fright, fight, freeze, sympathetic nervous system that is located within our thoracic spine region? It's located right where the ribs come and attach into the thoracic spine. If this is not functioning, it can influence through our nervous system, our sympathetic flight, fright, and fight system. If we have a beautiful fluid thoracic spine and we have the ability to be conscious and expand and really be an ability to be conscious on our exhale, we're then going to be able to access our parasympathetic nervous system. And what's so important about our parasympathetic nervous system? It's all about our rest and digest. The breath out. So think about our capacity to use our breath from 0 to 100. Where does your breathing pattern begin? do you feel that your breath starts on a slightly inhaled, always inhaled state? And then I'm breathing from a inhaled point. And then we don't ever experience our full breath because we are inhaled already. So consider when you're teaching, or consider when you're breathing, to breathe all your air out initially. Because if we breathe everything out and we cue the breath out first, then we have the capacity to feel our full breath in, opposed to take a breath in, which is what we often do with teaching, rather than, oh, let's just do a lovely big exhale. Then feel that capacity of where your breath actually is. So what happens to the diaphragm when we breathe in? When we breathe in, our diaphragm depresses, the lower ribs widen, okay? So the diaphragm drops and expands if we're breathing in the right way. As we breathe in, the diaphragm descends and widens. As we breathe out, the air comes out of our lungs deflate, and our diaphragm domes again, reducing the capacity up here for where the oxygen is, okay? Breathing in, the diaphragm wants to draw down, that sucks the air in from above, that fills these balloons up beautifully. And then as we breathe out, the lungs reduce in size, the space above the diaphragm reduces, and the diaphragm domes. Breathing in, think about your breath in, everybody breathe in. The diaphragm descends. The belly may come out and bulge a little bit. The lower ribs we're wanting to expand. And as you breathe out, the diaphragm domes again. Now, think about your breath in a 3D manner. We can breathe into the abdomen, we can breathe into the outer lower ribs, but you can also breathe into your back body. We can find space in our back body, not just out. We can find this capacity to expand out the back and the front of our body, which is just amazing when we're moving our body, to find that expansion into the back. So again, another very good cue in regard to expansion in where we are breathing through our yoga asana, when we are breathing into our pranayamas that's coming into the next class. So be mindful of where your breath is. Looking into a little bit of a breathing dysfunctional pattern, which often moves the breath into the upper body, and this beautiful cylinder that we have as our thoracic cage, we start to see the thoracic cage sliding up and down with upper rib breathing. It moves up and it moves down. It's should, and what we ultimately want to see is a widening in our thoracic cage, widening and expanding. Because if it just goes up and down, where do you see the expansion in my hands? You might see a little bit through the upper ribs moving, because the upper ribs are often moving with these muscles here through the neck. I kind of call them trash muscles at times, because they overwork and they take away the responsibility of the diaphragm, okay? So if I'm stressed, what happens? I might be shortness of breath. I might be a smoker. I might be someone that has asthma. And can you see here as I breathe in through my upper thoracic spine and I'm gasping for breath? Can you see these muscles through the front of my neck starting to work quite a lot? Okay. And these muscles here are called the scalene muscles. If you haven't heard about them, I'd really encourage you to explore and investigate them, because they attach onto the first and the second rib from the neck. Here's the neck. Thank you, Charlie, for looking away. Okay, so we have the neck here, and the muscles attach here onto the first rib and the second rib, okay, like this. And when those muscles work a lot, they lift that first and second rib, creating that sense of the up and the down action. And if they work too hard, there's 3 of those muscles, and between 2 of them, what goes through 2 of those muscles? We have all of the blood supply to the upper extremity, and we have the whole nerve supply to our upper extremity. So this kind of upper rib breathing dysfunctional pattern can lead to problems and symptoms into our arm, because the blood and the nervous system can be compromised, leading to maybe cold or temperature changes in the hands, and maybe even some funny, strange pins and needles into the hand. So a very interesting byproduct, let's say, of breathing dysfunctional patterns can lead to symptoms in the hand, could lead to headaches, could lead to digestive problems because we're not in our rest and our digest. There may be a diagnosis of irritable bowel syndrome, which is, for me, a little bit vague in relation to that diagnosis. It's quite an umbrella term. There may be discomfort up in between the shoulder blades because there's muscles working too hard, opposed to other muscles down through the lower lumbar spine region and the abdominal muscles that should be working. So the discrepancy and the imbalance through breathing dysfunctional patterns can lead to many other problems. So we've covered a variety of anatomy, from the structure into the function of the breath, the 4 different functions of the breath. Oxygen, prana, in; carbon dioxide out, apana out; balance within the pH system of our body, the acidity and the alkalinity, and the absolute beautiful key for many, many people to get back to that rest and digest and the capacity to regulate your whole body, your whole anatomical body. So be mindful how you're breathing. Bring your consciousness into how you breathe. Find the difference between the lower expansion of your ribs and the upper expansion of your ribs. Explore through the pranayama, your 3-part breath. There's so many different breathing exercises that we have in regard to that capacity to explore and to connect into our body. So I'd like to say a very big thank you for having me on this beautiful collection of people with BreathLYFE. My name is Rachel Ellery, and my business is the Anatomy School, and I'm happy to educate anybody in anatomy, which is my mission, to teach and educate the world in anatomy one person at a time. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, my website, and if you're interested in diving into any other anatomy 6-week mentorship programs, please message me, find me, and I would be more than happy to guide you through the beauty that lays beneath our skin. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm going to lead you on into your fantastic next class with Pranayama. So thanks for having me. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Rachel. It has been lovely hearing you and your knowledge about breath. And I was very much fascinated by the T-shirt you wear. Me, I also teach anatomy in my university, and I found your T-shirt amazing. I'm gonna order that one too.
Yeah, do. It's on a site called Redbubble, and they have a variety of different anatomy outfits. So yeah, have a look. Thank you, everybody.
And we will be giving your details to your participants with the email which goes with the certificate. So anybody who'd like to be in touch with you, they can go through the details which we're going to send, and they will be following you there itself. Thank you for
That
having.
would be fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'd love to give the people that have been watching here a discount in any further education. So thanks again and enjoy. I'll be popping in now and again to appreciate some other teachers. Thanks again.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, it was an amazing session by Rachel. Continuing the breath, now we have Bharat sir. He is my teacher who taught me yoga when I was learning yoga. A very much respectable person in yoga community and been taking yoga classes across the globe. Bharat sir, welcome at BreathLYFE International Yoga Workshop. Thank you for being here. Bharat sir has been teaching yoga more than 40 years now, and he has been teaching across the globe. So without wasting my time and his time, which is required here, I would like ask you to please start, sir. Bharat sir.
Good morning to everyone. Yes, sit calm and quiet. Spine should be straight. Eyes should be gently closed. Hands should be on your knees in Jnana Mudra. Body balance should be on both hips equally. Back, neck, head should be in a line. Shoulders should be relaxed. No tension of face, smiling face should be there. Just concentrate your mind on your breathing. Breathing should be smoother, deeper, and longer. Breathe in with smiling. Breathe out with smiling. Breathe in with full of energy. Breathe out full of relaxation. Just merge yourself with your breath. Feel its touching is going in or out. You must have to feel its touching on your nose, throat, chest, abdomen, even whole body. Feel the changes in you when you are coming out. Maybe expansion, maybe contraction. You must have to feel expansion when it is going in. You must have to feel contraction when it is coming out. And feel expansion, contraction all over the body, front, back, left and right, down and up from all the sides, all over the body. It's natural. It's natural. Just concentrate your mind on the tip of your nose. When air is coming in and out, feel the nature of air. Maybe cooling effect, maybe warm. When you are inhaling or exhaling, you must have to feel cooling sensation during the inhalation. You must have to feel warm sensation during the exhalation. In position, just will recite prayers. If you can join with me, you can join. Otherwise, just feel its vibration in your brain. Just all of you come in Namaskar Mudra and breathe in deeply. Oh. सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Release your hands and sit comfortably. As you know very well, this session is on pranayama. Pran and ayam. There is two words is there. Prana is nothing, just vital energy. Life force. And ayama means extension or retention. And pranayama is the part of yoga. According to Patanjali Yoga, under Ashtanga Yoga, Yama Niyamasana Pranayama Pratyahara Dhana Dhyan Samadhi Yoga Ashtamangani. At the fourth place, pranayama is there. And if you see yoga, yoga means to join. Join to yourself. And it can be possible when you follow discipline in your life. That's why Patanjali first sutra says, Hatha yoga anusasana. If discipline is in your life, it means yoga is there. And all your practices help to keep you in a disciplined life. But due to our day-to-day activities, behavior, lot of things in our life and be disturbed, physically and mentally both. Patanjali very clearly says regarding yoga, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Regarding, they are using the word nirod, complete cessation. The yoga bringing to complete cessation for the functional modification of chitta, mind. And to control your mind, if anything, the best one under to Ashtanga Yoga, that is the Pranayama. It's directly get the grave effect to your mind. If you want to control your mind, you must have to practice Pranayama. About Pranayama, Patanjali very clearly says, Tasmin sati swans praswansayor gati viksheda pranayama. Tasmin sati, before pranayama, they have described asana. They say, after getting the mastery on asana, then you are able to do pranayama. It means when you are able to sit comfortably for a long time without any disturbance, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, then you are able to do pranayama. If you are not able to sit, then you useless. That's why they are using the word tasmin sati. And they सांस प्रश्वास योग गति ही विक्षेदा pranayama. The break in the regular rhythmic movement of inhalation and exhalation is known as pranayama. Very clearly, Patanjali said they are using the word swans and praswas. Prana is very nearer with your prana, swans and praswasa. Same thing in Hatha Yoga tester. Very clearly, Swatmaram says, Atha dridhasane yogi bashi hitamitasanaha guru padishte margena pranayamam samabhaset. Very clearly says, Atha dridhasane, it means when you get the mastery on asana. Vashihitmuttasana very clearly says you must have over control on your senses, following by mitahara, taking food which is suitable for you, and you must have to practice pranayama under the guidance of a proper teacher, Guru Upadishtamari. Whenever you are practicing pranayama, you need some guru, teachers, who will guide time to time to you in proper way. Wrong practice always give the problems. And all of you know very well, all impurities in the nadis can be removed only the practice of pranayama. Through pranayama, you are able to remove all impurities from the nadis. That's why you must have to practice pranayama. See, when Patanjali described Ashtanga Yoga, before that, very clearly, they say in one sutra, Yoganganushthanad Ashuddhikshay Jnanadipti Vivekakyate. Very clearly says, Yoganga, the limbs of yoga. Anushtanad, they are using the word Anushtan. In Indian cultures, whenever we are doing anything, we are doing some Anushtana. And Anushtana means a repetition of a thing or process precisely in the same manner, sensibly and usually, for a long period, day after every day, maybe 1 month, maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 5 years, without break, without any fail, when you are practicing regularly, that you know Anushtana. And yogic practices are not for 1 day or 2 days, not only for listening. It's a practical science. You must have to practice regularly. So that's why they are using the Anushtana. This is why Anushtana is required. It very clearly says, Ashuddhi Kshay. Ashuddhi means impurity. Kshay means diminution, ultimate disappearance of the impurities. To removing the impurities, physically and mentally, both, we must have to do the Anushtana. Regular practice, repeatedly practice. For what? Jnana Deepte, Jnana knowledge. Deepte, illumination of knowledge. You are able to eliminate of your knowledge. And this practice should be till Viveka Khyate. Discrimination. Viveka Khyate. Realization. So through repeated daily anusthana, if anybody is doing, no doubt, diminution of the impurity is automatic. And eliminate your knowledge. And ultimately, self-realization of the discrimination between Purusha and Prakriti, which is the last aim of yoga. So that's why whenever you are going to practice pranayama, these things you must always keep in your mind. About pranayama, when word using their pranayama in Hatha Yoga tester, they are using the word kumbhaka. Kumbhaka means retention. Though in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, they are not using such a thing. They are using Vaha Bhantara Samavritti Deshikala Sankhyabi Paridishto Dirgha Sushma. Vaha, after exhalation. Abhyantar, after inhalation. Stambha, during inhalation or exhalation, anytime stoppage will be there. These three types, kumbhaka, they clearly says. So Vaha, Bhantar, Stambha, they are using the word vritti. Modification, functional modification of your mind, behavior, intention. So when you are inhaling, your concentration should be there on your prana vayu. Then that is the pranayama. Otherwise, no. Paridrishto, you must have to see three things about that they are telling you. Desha, Kala, and Sankhya. Dense means region. It will be during the inhalation or during the exhalation, during the stambha, any places. You must have to know till where prana vayu is there. Desha and Kala and time. Kala means time. How much time it's take. And Sankhya. During this period, how many natural breathing going on? Generally, natural breathing within 14 to 18 per minutes. But in pranayama, it depends person to person. Maybe within 1 minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it depends upon your practice. That also this says, but this to dirgha sushma. You must have measured it. Dirgha, prolonged, and sukshma, and subtle. The inward modality, outward modality, and stand still. Measured and regulated by means of the expanse, time and number, so that it becomes prolonged and subtle. Both things are there. According to Hatha Yoga tester, there is 3 phases of pranayama. One is the Purka, other is the Kumbhaka, and other one is the Rechaka. Purka means controlling inhalation. Kumbhaka means controlling retention. Rechaka means controlling exhalation. And it can be possible on these three, prolonged also, subtle also. Both things may be required. So when we say Purka, you prolong according to your capacity. It depends person to person, according to your day-to-day regular practice. Maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or more than that. It can be possible. In Kumbhaka also the same thing, in Rechaka also the same thing. But always I suggest to everyone, whenever you are going to practice pranayama, in beginning, first you get the mastery in Purka and Rechaka. Ratio is very important in pranayama, according to Hatha Yoga tester. So in beginning, you can keep ratio 1 and 1 Purka and Rechaka. Then after 1 week, 2 weeks, then increase your Rechaka. Double time try to give in Rechaka. As much as time you have given in Purka, try to give double time in Rechaka. When you have the full mastery on this, at least near about 3 to 6 months, without any fail, and when you have the capacity at least minimum in Purka 10 to 12 seconds, 20-24 seconds in Rechaka. When you have get mastery on it, then you can start Kumbhaka. For Kumbhaka also, according to text, 1, 4, 2. As much as time you have given in Purka, 4 times you must have given Kumbhaka, and double time you must have to give in Rechaka. But not a first day. As I told you in Purka and Rechaka, first one ratio 1 and 1, then 1 and 2. For Kumbhaka also, first you start 1, 1, 2. At least minimum 1 month. Minimum. A regular practice without fail. Then 1, 2, 2. Then again, next month you can increase 1, 3, 2. Then again you can increase 1, 4, 2. If regular practice is there, you are able to get mastery 1, 4, 2 within 4 to 6 months. But regular practice. And also, if you are doing Kumbhaka, with Kumbhaka, there is 3 bandha is also necessary in pranayama. Mool bandha, Udyan bandha, and Jalandhar bandha. Those Swami Kulanand always suggest, if you are not following Mool bandha and Udyan bandha, at least you must have to follow your Jalandhar bandha in beginning for few months. Jalandhar bandha, with the help of Jalandhar bandha, do the Kumbhaka. After getting mastery on it, then you must have to do Moola Bandha also. Then when you get mastery on that one also, then again Uddiyana Bandha also. But it cannot possible within one day. Don't take any force. Wrong practice will harm you and you will suffer whole life. That's why never go beyond your capacity. Always practice in relaxed way, with full of control. Hatha yogic test always he suggests after Purka, you must have to perform Jalandhar Bandha. And Mool Bandha will be throughout the practice. Maybe 5 rounds, 10 rounds, 20 rounds, or more than that, you are practicing pranayama, any one pranayama. Then Mool Bandha will be continued till last round. But Jalandhar Bandha will be every time change. And also, this says about Uddiyana Bandha, Kumbhakante Rechakado. When you end your Kumbhaka and when you want to start your Rechaka, in between Uddiyana Bandha will be there. So this is the very important things whenever you are going to practice your pranayama. You must have to follow everything. If you are not following really, it means you are talking to yourself. You are using your time. And when you will say about pranayama, very clearly, Hatha yogic text says, Chalevate chalam chittam nischale nischalam bhavet. See, they are also using the word vata, means vibe, air, your breath. This is if your air is active, your mind will also active. If it's stable, your mind also will stable. That's why we must have to regulate our breathing. If you are success to regulate your breathing, you will success to control your mind. It will be stable. And pranayama is very powerful, more than 100 times powerful of asana. Though nowadays, all over the world, people are running about the asanas. But always I says 100 times more better pranayama than asana. But practice should be regularly, not 1 or 2 days. And all of you know very well why to controlling your breath, you know very well, till air is coming in and out, your life is remaining there. It means a very close relation with your prana. Maranam tasya nishkantim tato vayu nirojyate. But when it stops the movement of air going in and out, it means death. Sure. Maybe thousands of oxygen cylinder you use, but there is no movement because prana is not inside. Till it is inside, this air can be moved. When prana is not there, it can't move. And till pranayama is there, it's help to nurses every cell of your body, every part, even nail to hair. If blockage is there, any part, prana is not reaching properly, it means there is disturbance of that function. Due to that, we have suffering a lot. Maybe migraine, maybe heart problems, high BP, diabetes, asthma, thousands of diseases can be possible. But if pranaya is functioning properly of every part of your body, then there is no diseases in your life. And as our text says, pranayama is help to remove the impurities from your nadis. Because blockage is there. If blockage is there, pranayama, how to pranayama enter that? If it's not going to properly, then that organ will go every day big. And you suffer a lot. So that's why very clearly remember one thing. If you want to do pranayama, there is 4 or 5 things is very important before pranayama, like Singhasana or Jiva Bandha. You must have to practice it. Like Uddiyana Bandha, you must have to practice it. Like Agni Sar, you must have to practice it. Like Shavasana, very clearly Hatha Yoga says, Sarvachinta vivarjitaha. Whenever you want to enter in the field of yoga, you must forget all worry and worries. That's why in Hatha Yoga they are giving very important to Shavasana. Shavasanam Santiharam Chitta Prasanti Karakam. Never practice in stress condition. Always practice your practices, any of practices, especially pranayama, in relaxed mind. Complete in relaxed condition, physically and mentally both. Sarvachinta vivarjitaha. And in pranayama, though in Hatha Yoga they are describing according to our nature, Ashtakumbhaka they are describing. Though in Patanjali Yoga they are not doing. There are 4 types of kumbhaka they have described. I told before, Bhaya Bhantar Stambha, and also one is they are using Bhaya Bhantar Vishyak Chepi Chaturtha. They are giving the name especially Chaturtha. Or you can say Keval Kumbhaka. In Hatha Yoga text also, there is 2 types of actually kumbhaka there. Though they are using the word only kumbhaka, but 2 types. One is the Sahita and other is the Kevala. Sahita means when we are practicing with Puraka and Rechaka. That is Sahita Kumbhaka. And Kevala Kumbhaka without using Puraka and Rechaka, when it's happened, that is known as Keval Kumbhaka. Generally, people think just holding the breath is Kumbhaka. No. Only holding the breath is not Kumbhaka. Sometimes, suppose if you are doing something wrong activity, and same time if your parents reach, automatically you shout, and breath automatic stop. Though it is kumbhaka or pranayama, no. Even ladies, when you are putting the thread in the needle, without holding the breath, they are not able to put inside. Is it kumbhaka or pranayama? No. Even singers who are singing a song, Very long Rechika is there. Is it Pranayama Rechika? No. Because your intention is different than Pranayama. Pranayama is there if your mind is with your pranavayu, then that is a pranayama. In pranayama, sometimes we are inhaling with left, sometimes we are inhaling with right. It depends about different pranayama, different techniques. Sometimes with mouth, inhaling and exhaling with nose. Sometimes with sound, sometimes without sound. It depends. Different pranayama, different types. But nowadays, very popular pranayama, one of the Anulom Vilom pranayama. Though it is not under to Ashtakumbhaka, it is not there. But before that, they have clearly mentioned about this one. About Anulom Vilom, alternative nostril. Even it says Nadi Sodhan pranayama also. So for pranayama, we have some special mudra. Someone says Pranav mudra, someone pranayamic mudra, someone says Vishnu mudra. In that, we must have avoid our index and finger. Two fingers should be closed. This is a special mudra for pranayama. And thumb will be always using to right nostrils. And always for pranayama, we use our right hand. Never use our left hand. But unfortunately, if there is some problems in right hand, then you can use your left hand. But you must have avoid left. Your effort should be to only right. The thumb will be your right nostril. See here the hard below that one. You must have to keep like this one. And your fingers should be on the bridge like this. And slowly, slowly, you can inhale with left nostril for Anulom Vilom Pranayama. After complete inhalation, you must have to close your left nostril. Then you must have to open your right nostril and slowly, slowly exhale with your right nostril. After complete exhalation, then slowly inhale with your right nostril. Then again close your right nostril and exhale with left nostril. Slowly, slowly, but maximum as much as possible according to your capacity, but don't go beyond your capacity. In beginning, only Purka and Rechika for few days or few months. Then you can start with Kumbhaka also. When using with Kumbhaka, after Purka, then Jalandhar Bandha is must, I told you. Jalandhar Bandha. And after releasing your Jalandhar Bandha, then Rechika with right. Then again inhalation with right, Kumbhaka, release your Jalandhar Bandha, and Rechika with left. So slowly, slowly inhale, but maximum inhale. Slowly, slowly exhale, but completely exhales. So now I request this to all of you. At least we must have to practice Anulom Vilom Pranayama. And just watch yourself, merge yourself with Pranavayu, and will practice at least minimum 10 minutes. Minimum 10 minutes with Kumbhaka or without Kumbhaka. It always I suggest without Kumbhaka is more better than with Kumbhaka. But your seat should be proper. You must have sit erect. Spine should be straight. Back, neck, head should be in one line. Use your right hand and slowly, slowly start your Anulom Vilom Pranayama. All of you, slowly and maximum. Important things is there during the Anulom Vilom Pranayama. Do not bulk out your abdomen. Not only Anulom Vilom Pranayama, any pranayama when you are doing, never bulk out your abdomen. It should be stable throughout the practice. And eyes should be closed throughout the practice. Slowly, slowly inhale, but maximum inhale. Slowly, slowly exhale, but completely exhale. Ratio will be 1 and 2. Today, only will practice Purka and Rechita. Your efforts should be to give the double time in exhalation. And you must have feel when you are inhaling how your chest expanding. When you are exhaling, how it's contracting. I should be closed throughout the practice, and your concentration should be on the prana vayu. Feel it's touching towards in. You must have feel expansion from down to up. You must have feel the contraction from up to down. Every moment you must have experienced to yourself what changes in you physically and mentally both. Simple practice, but very effective practice. Very useful practice in our day-to-day life. See, there is three things are from which nowadays all over the world people are suffering. One thing says anxiety. Always within small things they have these problems with family, with society, with everyone, with friend. One is the anxiety. Second is the stress. And third is the depression. In beginning, anxiety increases. And slowly, slowly, it converted in stresses. And when it takes long time, 6 months or 1 year, they fall to a depression. So nowadays, all over the world, people are suffering with these things. But if anyone is practicing pranayama, at least minimum 10 minutes, Anulom Vilom Pranayama, such a person never suffer these things. Never in his or her life. If such a person practice in the morning time, whole day he will feel and enjoy with every work. That's why we must have to practice regularly. Anulom Vilom Pranayama. And regular practice really will change your life. And you know very well, if anyone is practicing regularly Anulom Vilom Pranayama, he or she will never suffer with asthma or bronchitis. Nowadays, these problems also all over the world. Respiratory disorder. It is under to respiratory disorder. And all of you know very well. And pranayama is help to regulate your breathing. your respiratory systems. That's why we must have to practice. Pranayama is like Anulom Vilom. Important things is there whenever you are going to practice pranayama, there is no suffocation, neither in Puruka, nor in Kumbhaka, nor in Vrechika. According to you, as you wish, air will go in. According to you, as you wish, retention should be there. According to you, as you wish, Vrechika will be there. You must have full mastery on Puruka. You have full mastery on Vrechika. Then really it will give the great effect. It will touch every part of your body, as I told you, from nail to hair. It's effective. Regular practice gives a lot of effect, as various researches have done on pranayama, especially Anulom Vilom Pranayama. All over the world, researches have done. If people are doing, there is no health disorder. Such as hypertension, high blood pressure, asthma, bronchitis, arthritis, migraine. These things, if you have, they will disappear. That's why we must have to practice Anulom Vilom Pranayama. If you have this type of problem, then practice? No. All yogic practices are not those who are the sick. Yogic practices are those who have the healthy. For them, especially pranayama also, those who have the healthy for them. No doubt if there is some imbalance in your body and mind, it will disappear through the practice of pranayama. Really, it's very helpful. Is overcoming your negative thoughts. Thinking becomes positive. Many of the students, they share his opinion with me because we are running online pranayama classes. They have a lot of negative thoughts, but now their life really changed and they are very happy. All negative thoughts, emotions will disappear, such as like anger, forgetfulness, uneasiness, frustration. They all disappear. There is no place of anger, greediness, desire. Automatic they will disappear. These things, they are sharing his experience after practicing of pranayama. And really they are practicing regularly. And they all are very happy. So this, see, if practicing pranayama, three things are very important. If it is happen in you, then it means your practice is going properly. First thing is concentration. Your concentration increasing with practice of pranayama. Second thing is you have the power of patience to fight from the outer world. Third thing is you are able to focus on your work, with any types of work. Focus on yourself, focus with your family, focus with your job, focus on your society, everywhere. And also, one thing is very important. Decision making ability increases in you if you are doing pranayama in your day-to-day practice. It happen automatic changes in you. But regular practice necessary. And also in inventiveness and increases as your advantage as possible. It can be just yourself, as our Hatha Yogic test says. Bapuhu kusattam badane prasanta nadas putattam naine sunirmale arogyata bindu jayagni deepnam nali vishuddhi harshiddhi lakshanam. There is some sign in you when your practice is going in proper way or not. Something you can feel to yourself. Many times you are not able to feel yourself, but your friends see on you. तो कहते हैं बपुः कुशंतम, slimness of body. This is the beauty of your practices. Always it's keep you fit, neither make you fatty nor make you thin. It always keep in a balanced condition. If excess fat is there, it will reduce. If less is there, it can be helped to increase. The bapu kusantam, badane prasanta, luster on the face, beauty on the face. Though you are practicing pranayama every day without fail, there is not need to apply even any cream her or his face. Always brightness will be there on his or her face. Naine sunirmale, and also vision perfect. Lot of impurities through our vision, eyes. But through practice of pranayama, all impurities remove and clearness, pure vision will come. Nadasfutattam, and your voice very perfect, very sweet. Voice is very important things to pleasing to others. These all practices will be very helpful for your voice. Bapu kushattam badane prasanta nadasputattam naine sunmale arogyata bindu jayagni deepanam nali vishuddhi harshiddhi lakshanam. Arogyata. There is no place of diseases in your life. That's why they are using the word arogyata. They are not using the word disease. Never diseases. Whole life you will be free from diseases. Bindu Jayognideep, and also get the mastery of Bindu. Nectars. Energize all over the body. Agni Deepanam, and increases gastric fire. Nali Vishuddhi Hatsiddhi Lakshanam. And important things is there. Nali Vishuddhi Hatsiddhi Lakshanam. It's help to purify your nadis, complete purifies your nadis. As I told you in starting, all impurities in the nadis can be removed only the practice of pranayama. That this is the sign of practices of pranayama to yourself. You can judge yourself, you are doing wrong or right. If these things is happening with you, it means you are going wrong. If not, then now we'll end with 3 Om. Just sit calm and quiet, all of you. Just with me, breathe in deeply. Low pitch should be there. Breathe in again. Concentration only on the sound. Breathe in again. Sit calm and quiet. Feel its vibration in your brain. Feel the silence around you. Feel the smoothness in your breathing. Feel the energetic all over the body. Feel the freshness in your face. Feel the lightness in your body. Feel the calmness in your mind. We'll end the Shanti part. Breathe in deeply. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take good palm of face, open your eyes. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking a wonderful pranayama session. As I came to know you are not keeping well still, you gave this session. Thank you very much. We are open for question and answer, if any.
Yes. Welcome to ask.
If there is any question, please go ahead and ask.
Okay. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So after this session, this is the last session for the morning schedule. Next session will start at 4 o'clock sharp. We have various speakers across the globe in the evening. So all members are requested to join join before 5 minutes before the event. If Bharat sir is there is one question.
Yes, yes, please.
For acidity, high level of pitta, which pranayam practice is the best?
Better is Shitali and Shitkari.
Okay, I believe the answer you have got. Shitli Shitkari, those are cooling pranayam, if I am not wrong. It is good for pitta. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a nice
Okay.
day ahead.
Okay.
And attendees, please join at 3:55 p.m. for next session. Link will be provided to you. Thank you. Thank you.